and welcome. I'm Lynda Kinkade. At this hour, a UN panel is out with an urgent warning on global warming. Officials have less than 12 years to act before the damage from climate change could become catastrophic. The reason: the Earth will reach a critical temperature 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels as early as the year 2030. And if changes are not made, that could lead to extreme droughts, flooding, even food shortages. Well, CNN meteorologist Chad Myers joins me now. And Chad, obviously, due to our past inaction, the consequences are very real and certainly not long to act.
Right. I mean, we have already seen some of this already play out. We're 1.0 degrees Celsius above where we were pre-industrial. But what do we really blame global warming, climate change on? What can we really have evidence? There's really no evidence. No evidence that's going to make tornadoes bigger. Likely even not make hurricanes or typhoons bigger, but more warm air holds more humidity. So they may be more of a rainmaker, a flood maker, because we know we're going to have drought. We know we're going to have floods. Coastal flooding is a given because the sea level rise is already going up, and certainly heat waves. My biggest concern with all of this will be one breadbasket, whether it's Russia, America, or anywhere else that's growing crops, has a crop failure 1 or 2 years in a row. All of a sudden, yes, we've been warmer. Yes, we've had more CO2. Yes, we've had all these things, but we've not tried to feed 9 billion people before with crop failure. And that's where we are right now.
Right, yeah. So droughts obviously are going to get worse. We've already seen that in places like Australia, but also coral reefs in the Great Barrier Reef, one of the 7 wonders of the world, are dying.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. And this is really what this paper puts its finger on. If we can stop it at 1.5, what will happen? If we can't stop it till 2.0, what will happen? Well, we're already at 1 point. Now, it's taken 100 years to get to this point, but we are rapidly accelerating because there are so many more cars on the planet, so many more people polluting the planet. Hottest years on record? The past 3. And 2018 has not been any cooler anywhere across the globe. Thinking now that if you can keep it to about 1.5 degrees up, you're only going to lose about 70% of the coral reef. If you get to 2.0, all the coral reefs are going to be gone. And that's a sobering effect. So we need to stop using CO2, stop burning fossil fuel, and do something different, and do it rapidly, do it very quickly, and also try to get some technology that can reduce or remove the CO2 that's already there. That would certainly help. Lynda.
Of course, Chad, the U.S. is dragging its feet. The president is obviously in denial about how big a problem this is. How much harder does it become trying to solve this issue when you've got governments not willing to make this a priority?
You know, it's a right-wing, left-wing thing here in America, and no one really can put their mind around how that happened. One side believes something is true, one side believes it's not true. And I don't know whether that is because of lobby. I don't know whether that's because they're afraid to commit to do the global warming deficit or bring down the CO2 because it may harm the economy. But it's a push-pull, and President Obama was all in favor of reducing our emissions, and then all of a sudden, as the new president came in, he said, well, we don't believe it. It's just going to take some time. I have a teenager, and his life and his world will not look like what my world looks like 30 years from now. You know, we're clean and green, we have all the food we want. That just may not be the case if you pollute the world any more than we already are.
All right, Chad Myers, good to have you with us.
You're welcome.
I want to move to Tropical Storm Michael now, which is getting stronger in the Caribbean. Western Cuba is getting slammed with heavy rain and strong winds. And Michael could become a hurricane today. CNN's Patrick Oppmann is in Havana and joins me now live. And this tropical storm has already dropped flooding rains in Central America, now moving through Cuba towards the U.S., and it could become a hurricane.
Yes, it could. Cuban meteorologists saying this morning they expect in the next few hours that it will become a hurricane. It's right on that threshold, and they are warning people in western Cuba. The point of western Cuba is about 300 kilometers from where I am now. to start hunkering down, to get off the road, to listen to authorities as they put out alerts just about every hour. And here in Havana, since last night, we've been experiencing these bands of rain. It's obviously a gray and drizzly day, but it's still somewhat peaceful here. They expect that to change by this afternoon as the storm gets closer and closer, that there'll be stronger wind gusts. And it doesn't take much rain for it to flood in the city because so much of the infrastructure is so old, decades old, and even buildings can collapse after a heavy rain. So even though it looks like Cuba will miss the worst of this storm, that it won't strengthen into a hurricane as it's passing by Cuba, won't make a direct hit on Cuba, meteorologists here say it still could have an impact. There still could be flooding. It's going to go right over the region where all of Cuba's famous cigars are grown, and they just begun planting there in the last few months, Linda. So even if it does not have the impact that storms of the past have had, it will still cause some distress here.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, we will get an update from you later on. Patrick Oppmann in Havana, thanks so much.